What's the real difference between you and someone who's going to completely fail financially in 2026? In most cases, nothing. You're playing the same game with the same broken rules. Repeating the exact same money mistakes millions of people will keep making like robots until they're broke, stressed, and stuck. You can ignore that and let next year arrive like every other year. Your bank account looking like a bad joke, you can ignore that and let next year. Your salary disappearing in 3 days, and you wondering why life is so expensive. Or you can stay here for a few minutes and actually see the brutal financial mistakes that are quietly destroying your future right now. And I'm not exaggerating when I say this. The most dangerous mistake is the last one. And it's so common that there's a good chance you're making it today without even realizing it. If you're serious about changing your money story in 2026, hit like, subscribe, and drop a comment telling me your biggest financial fear for next year. Because this is going to sting, but it might just save you years of pain. Let's start with the first. Brutal mistake. You're playing the money game with no map. Every month looks the same. You wait for your paycheck like it's Christmas morning. You spend the first few days like you're rich, and then you spend the next 3 weeks living on instant noodles and praying nothing breaks. That's not bad luck. That's what happens when you live with no budget. Not having a budget is like driving blindfolded. Technically, you might move, but the chances of you crashing are almost 100%. Most people think they know how much they spend, but when they finally track it, they realize they were wildly wrong. They'll say, I probably spend like $300 a month on food. And then the numbers show $700 because they forgot to count late night delivery, snacks, coffee stops, and random convenience store runs. They're living in a financial fantasy and then acting shocked when the end of the month feels like a horror movie. A budget isn't punishment. It's just reality written down. You write what comes in, you write what goes out, and you make sure your future gets paid before your impulses do. No fancy apps required. A simple note on your phone is enough to wake you up. But most people would rather keep guessing than spend 20 minutes facing the truth. The second brutal mistake is even more obvious, but way more common. Spending more than you earn and pretending it's normal adult life. You buy things you don't need with money. You don't have to impress people who don't care. You convince yourself that the sale, the discount, the limited offer is too good to miss. Even though your bank account is screaming, the credit card isn't free money. Buy now, pay later isn't free money. Monthly installments aren't free money. They're all the same thing. A way of pulling your future income into today and paying interest for the privilege. You think it's only $30 here, $10 there, $15 over there. But small leaks sink big ships. A $5 coffee every weekday is about $100 a month. Over a year, that's over $1,000 just for caffeine and a logo on the cup. Alone, it sounds tiny. Stacked, it's the difference between staying stuck and having your first investment account. Then comes mistake number 3. Living with zero emergency fund in a world where anything can break at any time. Your car doesn't care about your payday. Your health doesn't check your calendar before it crashes. Your job doesn't ask for permission before it disappears. And if you're living with no savings at all, every small problem becomes a full financial disaster. Experts talk about 3 to 6 months of expenses, saved as an emergency cushion. For a lot of people, that sounds impossible, but that's the point. That cushion exists so that one bad month doesn't become a bad decade. Without it, a flat tire becomes credit card debt. A medical bill becomes a personal loan. A broken laptop becomes another excuse to finance, borrow, and sink deeper. Building an emergency fund isn't glamorous. No one claps when you move money into a boring savings account. But when life hits, and it will hit, that boring decision is the thing that lets you breathe. Mistake number 4. Using credit cards like a complete amateur. Credit cards are powerful tools if you understand them, and absolute weapons against you if you don't. Most people swipe without thinking, then proudly pay the minimum and call it being responsible. Meanwhile, they're paying 20%, 30%, sometimes more in interest, handing over their future income just to avoid feeling broke in the present. Here's the golden rule. If you can't pay it in full at the end of the month, you can't afford it. Simple. The card isn't there to finance your lifestyle. It's there for protection, points, and convenience. Nothing else. And no, you do not need 5 different cards just in case. You don't need to split a phone, a TV, a trip, and new clothes into 18 monthly payments, and then pretend there's no cost just because the interest is 0%. 0% interest still means 100% of the payment is coming from you. You're locking in your future cash flow for things that will be old, broken, or forgotten long before you finish paying for them. Mistake number 5 is the quieter one that slowly kills your future, not investing at all. Leaving your money in a savings account or worse, in a checking account while inflation eats it alive. Prices go up every year. Rent, groceries, transport, everything. If your money isn't growing faster than inflation, you're not being safe. You're slowly going backwards. Investing isn't just for rich people. It's for anyone who wants their money to stop being lazy. You don't need to start with huge numbers. You can begin with $50, $100 a month. Index funds, government bonds, diversified ETFs, boring things that don't look sexy on social media, but quietly build your net worth in the background. The real magic isn't the amount you start with, it's how long you stay in the game. Starting at 25 with small amounts often beats starting at 40 with big ones. Time is your biggest ally, but most people hand it away because they're too scared to learn the basics, which leads to mistake number 6, refusing to educate yourself about money. Schools rarely teach you how to actually manage money in the real world. You can graduate knowing the phases of the moon and the names of ancient kings, but not how a loan works or how interest compounds. That's not your fault, but staying ignorant is. We live in the age of information. There are books, podcasts, YouTube channels, newsletters, all dedicated to personal finance, many of them completely free. You can learn more about money in 3 months of intentional study than most people learn in their entire lives. But most people don't. They scroll memes, binge shows, and avoid anything that looks like too much effort. Then they wonder why their finances never change. The difference between someone earning $2,000 a month and building wealth and someone earning $10,000 and staying broke is not the salary. It's the knowledge and the habits running behind the scenes. Mistake number 7 is brutal because it feels good in the moment. Living to impress other people. You upgrade your car, your phone, your wardrobe, your vacations not because it makes your life meaningfully better, but because you want other people to see it. Social media has turned flexing into a sport. People are going broke trying to look rich in front of strangers. Here's the truth. Nobody is thinking about you as much as you think. People see your post, double tap, scroll, and then go back to worrying about themselves. Meanwhile, you're left with payments, debt, and stress just to maintain an image that doesn't exist once the screen goes dark. Real wealth is quiet. It's an account balance, not an Instagram story. The people who are truly secure don't need to prove it. The people who are drowning are usually the loudest about how well they're doing. Then we hit mistake number 8. Pretending retirement is some distant problem for future you. You tell yourself, you'll start later, when you make more money, when life is more stable, when things calm down. Here's the problem. Later never shows up on your calendar. And every year you delay, the cost of your retirement multiplies. If you start investing for retirement in your 20s, a small contribution can grow into something huge over 30 or 40 years because compounding has enough time to work. If you wait until your 40s or 50s, you'll have to invest massive amounts just to end up with something decent. The math is unforgiving. Imagine investing a modest amount every month for 30 years versus 15. The difference at the end isn't just a bit more, it can be double, triple, or more. Your older self is going to send you a thank you letter or a hate mail. And the choice between those two is being made right now, not someday. Mistake number 9. Making financial decisions based on emotions instead of plans. You buy when you're bored, you swipe when you're sad, you invest when you see everyone hyped, and you sell when you're scared. That's the cycle that keeps small investors stuck forever. FOMO makes you chase whatever is hot that week. Panics you sell whatever falls. You end up buying high, selling low, and telling yourself investing doesn't work. But the problem wasn't the market. It was your lack of rules. You don't need to be a genius to invest well. You need a simple plan and the discipline to stick to it when your feelings scream the opposite. Decide in advance how much you'll invest, where it will go, and how long you're willing to hold. Decide under what conditions you'll sell. Then follow that plan even when the headlines are screaming disaster. The market goes up and down. Always has, always will. If you react to every bump like it's the end of the world, you'll never stay in long enough to see the upside. And while we're talking about emotions, let's add another nightmare: falling for get-rich-quick schemes. If someone promises guaranteed high returns with no risk, if they pressure you to get in now, if the whole thing only works when you recruit other people, it's not an opportunity, it's a trap. People lose life savings chasing shortcuts that never existed. Wealth doesn't come in one magical deal. It comes from hundreds of boring, consistent decisions stacked over time. Mistake number 10. Depending on a single source of income and acting like it's permanent. One job, one client, one paycheck. If that one thing disappears, your entire life collapses. In a world where entire industries can change in 5 years, and companies can cut staff in a single afternoon, relying on one stream of income is one of the riskiest things you can do. I'm not saying everyone needs to be a full-time entrepreneur with 7 businesses, but you can build small additional streams. Freelance work, a digital product, a rental, dividends from investments, a side project that slowly grows. Multiple streams don't just mean more money. They mean less fear. Losing one income hurts, but it doesn't destroy you. Now we get to the mistake that almost nobody talks about clearly, but it's the one that keeps people stuck forever. The most dangerous mistake of all: not understanding the difference between an asset and a liability. Most people think they're investing when they're actually just upgrading their lifestyle in slow motion. They'll say, I bought a house, it's an investment, even if the mortgage payment, property taxes, maintenance, and insurance are swallowing half their income and there's no rental income coming in. They'll buy a luxury car and say, at least it holds value, while it quietly eats their cash in payments, gas, and repairs. They call gadgets status items and lifestyle upgrades investments, because the word makes them feel better about spending. But here's the simple rule. An asset puts money into your pocket. A liability takes money out of your pocket. That's it. A rental property that generates positive cash flow. Asset. A primary home that costs you a fortune and doesn't produce income. Financially, that's a liability. A business that regularly makes profit after expenses. Asset. A car on a huge loan that drops in value every year. Liability. The problem isn't owning liabilities, we all need some. The problem is lying to yourself about what they are. If you don't understand that difference, you'll spend your whole life buying nice things that quietly drain your future. And you'll never own enough real assets to actually set you free. You'll work for decades, always feeling like you're close to something big, without realizing that your money is locked inside objects that look rich, but act poor, not so if you want. 2026 to be the year your finances finally change direction. Start here. Build a simple budget. Stop spending more than you earn. Create an emergency cushion. Use credit like a tool instead of a crutch. Start investing something. No matter how small, educate yourself like your future depends on it. Stop performing for strangers. Plan for retirement now. Calm your emotions. Diversify your income. And above all, focus your energy on buying assets, not collecting liabilities. If this video shook you a little and made you see your money habits differently, don't stop here. Go watch our previous video, The 3 Turning Points That Change Your Financial Life Forever. In that one, I show you exactly how your money goes from you pushing it to it finally pushing you. It's the perfect next step after this. I'll see you there.